Hi, and welcome to Drawing with Stephie. We have another, not really so much tutorial, but another informational piece. I've had a lot of folks ask me questions about which brushes I like to use, and most of the brushes for sketching and drawing and inking are just the ones that come standard in Sci. But I'll talk a little bit about the first ones. But first thing I do want to mention is you do have to have a graphics tablet for this to work. Sci does not like working in the new style tablet computers. Depending upon the type of tablet you have, there are some out there that do have the Wacom enabled styluses. I have not played with any of those, so I really can't give you advice on them. The best thing I can suggest is search the internet and see if you can't find reference to your particular model of a tablet and Sci, and hopefully there's some information out there for you. It's also known that it doesn't work so great in Windows 10 or the other platforms. Remember, it is a Windows program. It does not work on a Macintosh unless you run a terminal type program, but I don't have a Mac, so I don't know how to do that, so I can't explain it. Anyway, something else to note, depending upon the type of graphics program you have, if you have a Wacom tablet, they're really great and I recommend them. I believe even the Bamboo line can have this option. When I got mine, I had a couple different nibs, which is the very end of the stylus. And the standard one is a black plastic, hard, rounded thing. And you can take it out. That's what that little silver thing that comes in your stand. If you haven't taken your stand apart, please do. You're going to find some extra nibs in there. I usually just use my teeth other than the little silver thing, but you can pull the nib out and replace it. There are lots of different nibs you can buy. There's some that feel kind of like felt pens. Then there's the black one, which is just hard plastic. There's a white one that's just hard plastic. And the black and white ones, I haven't found much of a difference between them. The one I like the best actually has a little dome of rubber at the tip. Unfortunately, it does rub off after a while, depending upon how much you use it, but it makes the stylus feel a lot more like drawing on a piece of paper with a pencil. It's not as slippery. It gives some resistance, and I find that to be really helpful when drawing, because I don't like it being super slick. But on to the tools here. But I just wanted to mention that so A, you know, and B, if you try something that I'm doing and it doesn't end up quite the same way and you're wondering why, that could be the reason. But my standard doodling brush is just the paintbrush, and to make sure you know which ones they are, just scroll down till you have a blank space. I have a lot of different brushes here that I've downloaded. Just right click on an empty space, and that'll bring up all the standard brushes in their standard format. And so it's just the brush, not the watercolor, not the marker, just the brush. And what I've done is taken the blending all the way down, the persistent all the way down, and I like putting the dilution up. What that does is it makes it a little bit slick, but not too bad. And there we go. It gives it a transparency. And this is different than opacity, because the opacity with the brush, if you bring that down, make this a little bit thicker, makes it kind of fuzzy. And I don't really like the fuzziness. I just like it being a little transparent. Something else to notice if you're having a lot of problems with line weight is to come down here, and it's turned off with default. And what you want to do is find advanced settings and hit the little plus, and it's going to show you a whole bunch of little toggles, and I always leave it on quality of smoothest. Edge hardness can make it the edges sharper, depending upon what your canvas is set at. I usually have it at 8.5 by 11 with at least 300 pixels per inch. Sometimes I go up to 600 depending upon how my hand is feeling. The higher the resolution, sometimes the harder it is to draw, because it makes the wibble's a little bit more apparent. There's minimum density. I like having it around 63. The hard and soft. That's how sensitive the program picks up on your tablet. So if you have a really hard hand, you probably want to back it down all the way towards hard, and so that will make your lines thinner, and it means you really have to press hard for it to get thick. Now, if you have a really light touch and you're only getting thin lines and you can't seem to get any fat lines, bring the toggle past 100 and you'll get soft, fat lines real easily. Alrighty, so this is my standard sketching pen. I like to draw in colors, usually red or blue, and depending upon, again, how my hand is feeling, sometimes I'll make it a little more transparent with the dilution. But this is my standard sketching tool. Nothing too outrageous. I've seen some people use the marker. Marker can be really neat. I have altered it from the standard. If you have pressure sensitivity turned onto it, it makes it very transparent. And the harder you press, the less transparent it gets. And it's designed to work kind of like a alcohol marker. So even if you color over the same spot a lot, it never gets particularly dark. I mean, you really have to go over it a lot. But you know, some people like that for sketching. It's nice and slippery. It's not bad. It's just not my favorite one. It does good for inking sometimes, though, if you take the pressure off, because then you have a nice brush that doesn't continually vanish. Something else weird about the marker is it likes to have layers a certain way, and so when you draw over certain things, it can be kind of weird. It's not doing it for me right now, but if it ever starts acting wonky, it's not you, it's just that particular tool. The airbrush is another one I use often when I'm inking. There's something about the airbrush that makes these little checks at the end not happen as often. It's not going to do it because I'm talking about it, and it did this last time I did the demo. But sometimes when I'm inking something, when I'm using the paintbrush and I have it at a high stability and I'm trying to do some inking, it does these little weird checks at the end of the line. But I found that the airbrush doesn't do that as much. I think it happened a lot with the pen too. Whoops. It's been a while since I've done anything, so. But airbrush is great for inking. You know, just put the nibs, the edge shape, as it's called here in the program, to like the medium nib or maybe the hard, and you'll get rid of that fuzziness, and it's got a really nice flow to it. And again, you can play with the minimum density. But that's just a little quick info on my favorite brushes. I do a lot of inking with just the paintbrush as well. If you want a really hard inking tool, just the pen. The pen is actually just the pencil. Don't worry if you don't have it. It's just the pencil. You can right click and add the pencil, and there it is. Depending upon its setting. Let's see, make that bigger. And that's very hard. It doesn't have any blending. It doesn't smear at all. So it's just one of those things you just play around with until you find what works for you. Everybody's computer system is different, and everybody's tablet is different, and of course everybody's hand is different, and so all that matters and will influence how things work out. But if you guys have more questions about which brushes I like to use or how I use them, or just any suggestions for future tutorials, just let me know. You can email me at cybercatgraphics@yahoo.com, or you can leave me a comment here on YouTube or on my galleries. Remember, I'm on Furaffinity and DeviantArt. Just look for Cybercat or Lady Cybercat on DeviantArt. And hope to see you next time. Have a great day. Bye-bye.